ultimately my time was 2:37:11.
2:37 is the Olympic
Yes.
trial.
So I missed it by 11 seconds. And I was like, I wasn't the only one that missed it by like kind of less than 1%.
Yeah.
But I was like, how could I be one of those people that missed it by much?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And so I wasn't originally planning on doing Chevron, but I wanted to see what I could do without like that kind of sickness beforehand.
Mhm.
Joke's on me, I got like a cold a couple of days before Chevron.
Welcome to the Buffalo Marathon Podcast. Let's go!
Where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
I feel like I am part of Bills Mafia. You know, the Go Bills is just part of my vocabulary.
So you ran 2:35 in Houston recently, and on top of that, you're in med school.
Yeah.
I think we'll get there eventually, but what I'd love to do is just talk about your upbringing. We're in Orchard Park. You're from Orchard Park. Talk to me about what it was like for you growing up.
Wow, such a loaded question.
Well, you have a twin sister, right?
I do. And then I have an older brother and older sister too.
Okay.
And so, like growing up, we were thrown into every single sport. Grew up swimming mainly because my mom didn't want us to drown when we were younger. And loved basketball, loved volleyball. Really didn't specialize into a sport like track until high school. So I actually joked that if volleyball had been during the springtime, I would do volleyball over running.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny to see where running has taken me now.
Yeah, you said you played a bunch of different sports, and I know we just talked and you were coming off a pediatric rotation. Kids coming in, I think this is kind of a question that I think we know the answer to, but specialization is more of like a priority for a lot of kids now. Do you feel like you saw that a lot, or do you feel like kids, I don't know, I think there's like a mix of like a lot of inactive kids
Yeah.
and then kids that are just like playing hockey year round
Yeah.
and not playing a bunch of different sports. Did you see that in your last rotation for pediatrics?
I know what you're getting at. More so, not necessarily like specializing in sports like when I was on like inpatient or outpatient or in my specialty clinic, but I do see that there is like a pressure to specialize into a sport
Mhm.
early on because colleges start looking at athletes when they're earlier in high school.
Yeah.
And everything seems to be driven, unfortunately, a lot by money, which is, frankly, like how people pay for their education.
Sure.
It's a lot of money to go to college.
Yeah. Did you have, when you were growing up, was the goal to do something athletic in college, or did it just happen to go that way?
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. The goal, I think if you would ask me that question, I think I would have loved the idea of being an athlete in college, but early on, my parents were like, you're going to school for school.
Yeah.
And so that was always the case. And I'm so grateful for that because I didn't realize that I could run or my sister could run until junior year in high school when our high school coach sat us down and he was like, I think you can.
Is this your swim coach?
It was actually my track coach
Okay.
because he convinced us to do cross country senior year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there
Coach
any
Rich.
was the swimming coach mad about that at all?
It was an interesting time because the coach had stepped down.
Okay.
It was actually before our big championship meet, unfortunately.
Okay.
And so I think it was actually a good time to make the transition because I think if that hadn't happened, it would have been a harder decision to swim versus do track.
Yeah. So
Um,
this is in junior year, you switched to running.
So junior year we did track, and then in that spring our coach convinced us to do cross country our senior
Okay.
fall.
So no cross country until senior year.
Yeah,
And then what kind of events were you competing in track?
I did.
Distance or no?
I did the 800. I love the
The hardest
800.
event ever.
Yeah. And my sister always did the mile.
Okay.
And so, because we didn't really like to race against each other, and then we would do the 3,000 kind of like I'd do a couple laps, she would do a couple laps, and then we'd like finish together.
Yeah.
And then I got into the steeple, the 2K steeple, because New York is one of the states that does it. I don't know how it is now. I'm sure more states have
Sure.
incorporated it in. But then I got really interested into doing the steeplechase.
How does that work with your sister? Did you guys train together or yeah? And then
Oh yeah.
was it a healthy competition? Was it no, you do your thing, I'll do mine? How did it work?
It was definitely good, healthy competition. We didn't like racing against each other.
Did it ever happen that you did
yeah.
race against each other? It had to.
It
happen.
did.
Yeah.
It did when we were in.
You got the better of who?
Yeah, kind of ebbs and flows.
Okay.
Like we would. It was surprising our freshman year because she beat me in the first race, and then when we had the HAPs, I beat her. But our times are always almost kind of comparable.
Yeah.
So it was wild how different coaching strategies and different coaches in a different environment, like we still were able to. I think it was kind of like our heart. We were like, we don't want the other one to beat us.
Yeah.
So-
It's tough around the parents too. Like, who am I? I guess they're just, as long as everyone's good, they're not probably rooting for one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Good
I am the favorite.
I mean, there's always that. Did your parents, were they athletic? Is that kind of how everything started?
Yeah, my mom was an ice skater and a swimmer. And so when I was little, I actually wanted to be a professional ice skater. And I had not ice skated until I was 18 years old. So
It's tough to pick it up then.
yeah, right. But she was a swimmer too. And then my dad, he did basketball. He was loves basketball, still very good at shooting. He gives us a run for our money when we shoot at the gym together. And he did baseball, and I think he did a little bit of football too. But
Does he run? Because I feel like, does he run?
he'll tell you he runs. But
You would call it that?
he got a knee replacement 2 years ago, and so he's back walking. It's wild how amazing the surgery went and his
Yeah.
physical therapy. I think that was when we're talking about physical therapy. I mean, that is what really truly brought him back to being
Function.
even better than he was before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm seeing people like run on them now and stuff. And, particularly like runners when they get their knee replaced or their hip replaced. And I think every one of them asks the doctor, can I run on this? And they're like, I wouldn't. And I
Yeah.
see him like a year later, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, running on
Like,
it.
I proved him wrong.
Yeah, for now. For now.
Yeah.
When you transition, I've seen a couple people, we talked about this transition from swimming to running. Do you feel like that swimming gave you a really strong aerobic base? So like when you were going from swimming to track season and you then went straight to running, that it developed your ability to compete really well? Because it's such like there's just hard effort, sustained effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, our first, I say my sister and our first, I think that was part of the reason why our first cross country season was so successful was because we were swimming at Hickory Hill, which is like right down the
Yeah.
street. And we had such a strong aerobic base from swimming, and that helped take off the load of running, and we were able to develop the speed from running too. And it also helped whenever we were injured, like because
Sometimes you.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you feel like I find as a physical therapist that transition can be tough, whether it's adult athletes or I'll see high school athletes that do the same thing. Like they swim and then they do indoor and they transition from the pool to the floors in the high school or
Yeah.
the floors in the middle school. And it's just like that marble and their shins get crushed and all this because they don't have like the land training or the impact training. Did you guys struggle with that transition at all?
Yeah, I remember shin splints. That was more so in high school when we went from the transition to like basketball or swimming to track right away.
Yeah.
Luckily, like besides when we were later on in college, we had the typical, stress fractures from overuse, and
Like shins or,
I had him in weird places in my femur and then my pubic ramus.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so not the typical. My sister had a nasty posterior tib stress fracture that was hard to rattle for her, and then she had, I think, femoral neck because she might have like a bit of mild hip dysplasia. I think I
Yeah.
told her about.
That's funny. I mentioned I was talking to Joe Whalen, and he's like,
Yeah.
I've had every stress fracture. I stress fractured every bone. That
Oh my gosh, not gonna not me.
Yeah, it's interesting because like the femur ones are
Yeah.
especially the femoral neck, because if they're on the wrong side,
Oh
that's
my
a
gosh.
pin
Yeah.
automatically. But it sounds like it was probably on the compressive side of that.
Yeah, and it's funny to think. I say it's funny, but it really probably wasn't. When I go back in time to like when I had that, I remember it started off as feeling like, oh, like this hurts. And so I would like limp everywhere, but I was like, it would get better when I would run. And then it finally got to the point,
Classic.
it literally got, for a month it went on. And then it got to the point where I went out for a run. It hurt every step of the way. And I was supposed to do strides that day. And then when I stopped, I was like, oh my gosh, like, how am I going to be able to do a stride? I just hobbled through that whole run, and then I got checked out, and they're like,
"That's classic." If it feels better when I run, I limp afterwards, but as long as I get through that first mile, it feels better.
Experts of denial.
Yeah, I always talk about the stages of like runner's grief or runner's denial, which is like the first stage is run through it, and that's all in your head. And it's interesting because so many of the running injuries, once they get blood flowing, they especially the tendons, they just feel fine.
Yeah,
and then afterwards you can't hobble, but like it's okay if I'm running, so I guess I'll just keep doing it. And it compounds over time.
Yeah, that happened. Maybe not necessarily like stress injuries, but I've had the Achilles problem. I've had plantar pain. I've had IT band pain. So kind of a lot of the muscular pains I've gone through or tendon pains.
Yeah, I think everyone has, especially when you're competing at a high level. So you're going through high school. You really started going full time with running at the end of high school.
Yep.
Did you plan on running at Cornell, or how did that transition work?
Yeah. So I think it works a little bit differently now with like the specializing. Like you can start looking at athletes maybe like sophomore, junior year, but that's why senior year was really important for us to do cross country, because we had good times, but it wasn't like we were. I mean, New York is such a competitive state.
Were you running during the time like Mary Kane was running, or is that?
She was like a little bit before us,
Okay.
but I remember looking at her records and being like, oh my gosh, because she did like the 800 too.
Oh, yeah.
I was in the second heat, I think. So my freshman year, I made it in freshman or sophomore year. I made it in the 800, and that was really fun. And then I made it in the 3000, and I was in like the second heat, which is like the slower heat. And then I made it in the steeple my last year, and that was a funny one because the race was going so well, and then the last jump, I don't know what happened still to this day, but right in the pit, I still was able to
like
PR.
face or
whole body. Like they have a picture of me. I am completely submerged. My contact is coming out. You can tell my eye is like flipped open. Yeah.
Did you find the transition from like from a high school level to a college level? Like what was the biggest difficulty in that transition? Because you're going from everyone who was good in high school to college. Was that just the competition level was elevated, or?
I think honestly, I was a little bit oblivious. The hardest transition for college wise, I think, was like emotionally. I wasn't ready to leave. I think everybody was so excited for college, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, I was excited to go to Cornell. I was excited it felt right, but I think I just was a nervous person. And I think the hardest transition was kind of like my mental well-being, but I think my coaches, my
from
team,
being away from home, or
I think it was that. Honestly, my sister had no problem. No problem. She was so ready to leave. And then, but my coach actually, my first year at Cornell, he did a great thing where he held me back actually, for tempoed groups, and so I think like he took off some of the pressure, and I always kind of just went out feeling like, okay, like let's see how long I can stick with the group, or see what we can do. And I think that really helped because, I didn't really have any expectations. I think if you go in being a lot more of like a specialized, developed athlete, you have expectations or pressures. I don't think I felt any of those things. It was kind of more of like explore. Sophomore year, I think I felt a little bit more of the pressure because it's like, oh, I had such a good freshman year.
Yeah.
What am I going to do now?
Did you were you in Cornell with the plan to go to med school at some point, or what was the plan?
Yeah, I joked that a lot of the things I think I said earlier come back to bite me in the butt, because I said, oh my gosh, I'm never going to go to school for that long. And joke's on me, because that was like
forever.
The one thing that like was holding me back was the long time, and I didn't think that was a good enough excuse. But and I'm so glad that I didn't think that the years of education were a limiting factor, because I can't imagine wanting to do anything else right now.
So the goal was in Cornell, like, hey, I'm going to go to med school.
It was dietetics, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was like doing nutrition, and I still love nutrition. And
it's such an important, like, obviously there's a lot of back and forth on it, but as a physician, do you feel like going through the schooling, like there is more of a need for that in your schooling, or do you feel like you guys get enough of that?
Yeah,
Obviously, that's not like your specialty,
yeah, it's
but like
so
to have
tough
some basics.
because we learn so like you learn so much, and I think like at the end of the day, what would be best is whatever any physician decides to go into is to like never stop
Mhm.
wanting to learn
Yeah.
because I think if you're going to be a GI doc, like nutrition will be so like nutrition is important regardless of what
Sure.
specialty you go into. But I think whatever passion anybody has, I think the goal would to never stop learning because then you're going to be doing the best for your
Yeah, I think
patients.
like from a physician standpoint, I didn't go to med school, interact with a lot of doctors. You get exposed to so much content and so much knowledge. I feel like the big thing is just recognizing like this is a huge part of it. I
Yeah.
could at least have them talk to someone who dedicated their entire professional career to it.
Yeah.
Whether they're an athlete or not, it is such a big piece. It's like what you do every day to stay well. And
Yeah.
it's often overlooked, I feel like, in a lot of just evaluation side.
Yeah, it is. And I think being exposed to like the education from like a whole nutrition standpoint, like we went through all the biochemistry and you do get biochemistry in medical school and before that. But I think I like that's kind of what drew me to medicine. I was like, I loved the biochem.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, like I really want more of this, but like more in a case-based scenario where I'm like diagnosing patients. I know you diagnose patients with nutrition too, but
Yeah.
just yeah.
Did the dietitian side and the nutrition side, did that play into anything at the college level, or was it like whatever the mess hall was serving up I was eating, or how did that work for you?
Yeah, I worked at the snack shop,
Yeah.
and that was fun. Uh, the dietitian worked there as well, so it was a little bit of making money on the side, but also like getting insight from them.
Did you feel like when you were at Cornell, did you already have like this passion for nutrition dietitian pieces or not yet?
Yeah, I think that's what drew me to like I was a nutrition major
Okay.
in school. And I think like what actually kind of got me involved more so in like research was the mentors that I had from nutrition. So I got involved in iron research, and that was because I had iron deficiency, but I also kept on signing up for like this iron study, and the one of the investigators of it, she's like, oh, she was a triathlete, a very good triathlete too, and she's like, she realized I kept on participating, but the reason why I was participating
Money.
is money,
Yeah.
but you also it was like a free blood draw to see what your iron
Oh
levels
yeah,
were.
there you go. So you don't pay for the labs.
Yeah. And it was really interesting because they did, so her kind of mentor too, Dr. Hawes and Dr. Fiddler, they both kind of opened my eyes to like what endurance training and what optimal iron levels and like ferritin levels for athletes. They're a little bit higher than what would be clinically diagnosed as like iron deficiency. And I think it
Yeah.
makes a big impact in performance. And, the other week I was in a pediatric cath lab, and this really kind woman was telling me, oh, like I think I was like low on, that's what they told me, I was low on iron. I don't get how you run so much. It's like, oh my gosh, you should probably get your iron levels checked, be taking a little bit of an iron supplement, and
Yeah.
you might feel a lot better.
Yeah, it's important.
Baseline, when anybody starts running, it's painful.
Yeah,
But-
yeah, exactly. Yeah, even if you've been doing it for a while, if you start back up.
Yeah.
When you went through Cornell, you came in, you you kind of trained the first year, sophomore year, you started to pick it up. How did you ended up transitioning to Colorado, which
Mhm.
is like the next level of running?
Yeah.
How did you go from just training the first year to eventually transitioning to Colorado and running?
Yeah, so it was probably because of the COVID. My junior year is when COVID happened, and that was such a, heartbreaker for a lot of reasons, but strictly speaking athletically, I felt like that fall we qualified for cross country nationals in Buffalo. On Buffalo, it was supposed to be a cross country race, and
Is that UB?
it turned out to be the road race, and
Yeah.
it was so funny, that race, for many reasons. We're all wearing like red leggings. The super shoes had come out. The leggings that we were wearing were men's leggings because we didn't have female leggings at the time. And then the winter year, or sorry, during indoor track, ultimately I was able to become like a HEPS champion in the 5,000, and that was one of the last years. That there was one more year, but it was held at Cornell, so it was really special to see everybody, and that race was just like really special, especially after COVID shut everything down. We went home. I thought that it would have been a great spring season, but everything happens for a reason, and started looking towards like, what could I do with running? I know I have to take at least 1 year off in between. I was originally thinking about doing my DPD, which would be for getting a dietetics credential. But then I was like, I'll pursue a master's if I can get a spot at Colorado, if they believe, like, they see the potential in me there. And they did, which was great.
Good place to run.
And I was so grateful to be an athlete there. And I was actually coming off, like, pretty much my senior year was for all the injuries that I had. So I was in the worst shape of my life.
Yeah.
And then
So how did that go? Like you're coming off injuries.
Yep.
You're talking to the coaches, and you're like,
Yep.
are you selling them? I'm like,
oh yeah, some of
what's the
them.
sales pitch?
And yeah, I think I just really, I would be interested to see what I said in my email, but I think I, saw like Emma Coburn and like what they could do with I can't remember, but they were such good steeplechasers, and that was kind of the goal, is to see what I could do with the steeple. And I knew I was injured at the time, but I saw what they could transform a runner into, and I believe that I could be one of those athletes that went from good to professional level or elite level, qualifying for things that I hadn't qualified previously for. And that happened. And that happened my first year when I was in the worst shape of my life. And it took a long time to get there. But by that spring, I PR'd in the steeplechase, and then I made it to NCAA outdoors. And yeah, I think it takes a lot of patience and trust. And
What was the time frame from like not running a lot, being injured, to that? Was it like a year, 2 years?
so it was that year. It was from, well, I guess I was injured. I was diagnosed with my first stress fracture in like October of my senior year. And then, took the time off for that, built back up in
Were you in the
November.
pool at all during that
Yeah,
time? Okay.
yeah.
So your
As-
fitness was still high.
Kind of. I couldn't
Kind
be because I couldn't be in the pool for as long as I wanted, because they had COVID regulations at the YMCA in Ithaca. And then I was
In Ithaca. Good.
yeah. And then I was biking a little bit too. But yeah, some pool time. And then I went to Colorado after I graduated in June or July. And so I think I built back up that summer. So I still had a pretty okay summer of like building back up to probably 60 miles a week.
Yeah.
60 miles a week then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you went to Colorado, did you just ran steeple, or were you involved in cross country? Or?
Yeah, I tried to make the top 7 for cross country. I was probably like dead. I was dead last for the whole
It's a
entire
super
team.
competitive team.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely super competitive team. And great group of women, strong women. But for the first cross country race where everybody red shirts or doesn't wear the uniform, they're trying to feel out who's going to be their top 7. I was dead last, probably. I might have finished close last in that race too. Yeah, it was a painful race too. I mean, racing at elevation is no joke also. Yeah. And so then I didn't use my cross country season that season. And then I ended up taking a second year there. And it worked out because I used it that second year that I was in Colorado.
Were you doing research when you were in Colorado? Like,
I was involved in the lab, the physiology of aging lab,
Yeah.
Dr. Seal's lab. And I was doing heat therapy, passive heat therapy. So I was taking blood pressures of older individuals while they were in a hot tub.
Yeah. So that's interesting because I feel like something came out about heat
Yeah.
therapy and
Yeah,
dementia and all
Finland.
these
Yeah.
things. Is any comment on that from?
I think it's evolving. It's hard to, I think it's such a controlled environment, getting blood pressures of individuals who are in a steam room, in a sauna, and can tolerate that
Yeah.
because you have to get up to a temperature that's pretty uncomfortable.
Yeah. I
And
think in the sauna, it's
yeah,
like 180 or
yeah,
170.
yeah. And they had, so the patients that we were doing the blood pressures on, they had like a rectal thermometer. So we were waiting until they kind of had what would have been like a fever and sustaining that for a period of time and then, gradually like letting them cool down.
Yeah.
But I think like it simulates exercise in a way without having to exercise.
Yeah.
And so if you're, amenable to that, I think like there's no harm. Especially if you're somebody that has, chronic knee pain or
Yeah. I've been seeing, like, obviously ice baths had their moment, and then it really showed not to
yeah.
be too effective other than like some mental health or not even mental health. I think it probably makes you even more crazy, but some benefit in just like doing hard things. And then
Yeah.
I'm starting to see like the endurance side push towards heat therapy and like prolonged heat exposure. Two things that I'm seeing. One is, for the most part, I feel like the running population, I always joke as a physical therapist, like I don't have a compliance issue for
Yeah.
people in the rehab. I have an over compliance issue.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
hey, we're gonna do this twice a day, and they're like, oh, I did it 15 times yesterday.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So in the where I'm going with this is like you tell a runner like, hey, 170 for 20 minutes 3 times a week, and then they're cranking it to 200.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
passing out in the thing. But it's interesting about the exercise standpoint because I've also heard like 104 for 20 minutes in a hot tub can boost, I don't know, like blood volume or fitness. But I'm wondering, is it fitness if you're an untrained individual,
Yeah.
or is it no? It provides that prolonged heat exposure, like a hot tub at 104. Does it do anything for a trained individual? Do you have any insight on that?
I think that is such a good because we can be so neurotic about things. And we're like,
Like
oh,
running
it's
on
gonna
stress
right,
fractures.
right, exactly. I think a good rule of thumb to that. I mean, not like looking into the science or anything, but Coach Wetmore at Colorado, he said as long as it doesn't take away from your performance. So I think it causes a lot of internal reflection. Like, is what I'm doing taking away from recovery or taking away from like the
Mm.
training for the workout the next day? If you feel like it is, then don't do it. But
Yeah.
if you think it's going to make you better, then do it.
I had a physician once tell me, he was a neurosurgeon, that we were joking about something, and basically the story is the placebo effect is the desired effect, he told
Yes.
me. Because I'm like, I have people that swear by yogurt fixing their knee pain. He's like, well, the placebo effect is the desired effect.
Gut
So-
microbiome, right?
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where it plays out. There's a couple things that I feel like are having a moment. Like people are pushing the endurance side of quite a bit now, and like sleep's
Yeah.
having this huge thing,
Yeah.
which I think is amazing because we had a sleep physician on not too long ago on my other podcast, and talks about like just the wearable market, whether it's a ring or a strap on your wrist, it's
Yeah.
pushing back on a lot of things. People are more cognizant of sleep, but it's also inadvertently pushing people away from alcohol now, and because they're starting to be like, oh,
yeah.
I have these drinks and this thing's telling me how bad I slept. And it's interesting to see how like the wearables and stuff are coming in, and I feel like I've seen like the heat side come around a lot more now, where people are trying to like
Yeah.
expose to extreme heat to improve their endurance.
I think I would be, I mean, the idea if you have time for it, if you feel like you can recover from it, that's great. I think the big benefit that would get me into heat exposure is if I were training for a race that was gonna be like hot.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's when I would be like, this is worth my time and energy is to be exposed to the heat.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes like too much information can like be a harm also. Because I think, you wake up in the morning, you look at your phone to see what you're, a lot of people are into the Aura ring and they're like, how was my sleep?
Yeah.
And if you feel like you had a good night of sleep, but then you're told that you don't have a good night of sleep, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting when we did this sleep episode. I was joking because my wife, I've had a Whoop for many years, and then I was like, "Oh, Celia, you should get one of these." And she's like, she has one now, but her big concern was I'd be laying in bed like constantly thinking about how I'm supposed to be falling asleep for this ring on my finger.
Oh
And
my
then it would ruin my sleep because I'm like staring at the ceiling saying, oh my God, fall asleep, I'll fall asleep. So, and he kind of alluded to too, like there's also, it's not like white coat syndrome, but it's a similar thing where like you're getting tracked and you know you're getting studied.
Yeah.
So then you don't do the natural thing.
Yeah.
It affects all the numbers. So it was interesting. And the other thing he said about the sleep, which was really cool, was like a lot of the wearables, they optimize for battery life. So when you optimize for battery life to use it as a feature, you have to take it from something.
Yeah.
And I really liked what he said. And to like truly track sleep, you need like continuous monitoring all the time. And a lot of the wearables now, they grab like every 5 minutes, they'll grab a snippet. And if you don't have continuously monitoring, you can average out every 5 minutes, but it's not a true monitoring of like how you ebb and flow through sleep. So now I'm starting to go down this rabbit hole of like, oh my God, I've been wearing this thing for 5 years and I got to get better things. But it was really interesting to just have that conversation on like, you are being sold a product, they're trying to optimize for certain things and then it taking from other areas. But do you do anything with sleep or do you?
So I'm sure you saw the light bulb go off in my head when you were talking about that. In Colorado, I love participating in research.
Clearly.
I'm like obviously a research rat.
Somehow.
And so I participated in a couple studies, but one of them was two of them were sleep studies. Well, one of them was a candlelight study. And so that one was interesting, but that wasn't the one I was going to talk about. There was another one where I had to wear kind of a necklace that caught like how much light exposure I was having, and then like a watch that caught my activity levels. And then there was something else that I think I wore on like my hip or my leg, and that was getting like my position. And that study was really well done, I think, because when I ultimately slept overnight in the lab, I woke up without any, light exposure, natural, like what you would think like circadian rhythm. And I felt like that when they were gonna wake me up, I had just woken up. And so I felt like that was really good timing. I mean, I followed the protocol well, I think, too.
The runner in you.
Right. And I just think that those are things that you're right. Like the research is continuing to evolve. Obviously, like you need to get something that captures like your light exposure, your activity, when you're doing your activity.
Yeah. We talked about it with him. He talked about like your sleep tracker. A lot of the things today, like for example, Whoop, it's a sleep, but it's also an activity tracker. And again, if you go to battery life and it's trying to track all these things, if you want something to track your sleep, it should be primarily sleep. So he was kind of on the edge of like, it should be a ring that you can wear just at night, but it needs to like last the night, but then you don't have to wear it all day. And it should just be continuously monitoring. It was like 100 samples a second.
Wow.
To really kind of, because when you think about the milliseconds, you have changes in the heartbeat and things. So that's where his status was with it. It's just really interesting how like sleep is.
Yeah.
He was like one of the first sleep researchers, and now like there was never a sleep lab like 20 years ago, and now like those are coming up. We have wearables, but I'm interested in the candlelight study that you mentioned.
Yes.
What was that?
Yeah. So I think that was my first year I was at Colorado, because I didn't do an overnight in the lab because they were still having like different protocols, but it was in the fall time, and so whenever the natural light went out during the day, like the sun.
Thing called the sun.
Right. The only exposure I could have was candlelight and candles in my room. Yeah, I could. So
no phone, no TV.
Well, so I did. The caveat was that I did have phone and computer, because I'm sure that they would have had such a hard time recruiting anybody to that study if they couldn't. But I had a candlelight setting on my computer that still exists to this day. But it was like a Lux, I think, app that I had to download. And then with my phone, a similar thing. So yeah, I think that was, I mean, I use it so that I don't have like, I guess, the light exposure.
Blue light or whatever.
Yeah.
Thing is. Oh, how long was that study?
I think it was maybe a week long.
It couldn't have been too long, because how long are you going to last?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I think it was like a week long, but then they have, like the washout period before, where
imagine you like walking around with like one of those finger hook candles. Is that, or were you like?
It was literally like the, 18th century candles that I had like around me. And I was living with a roommate at the time, and I was
so
like,
they had to do this too?
Yeah. Well, I couldn't be, I was like, I can't be around the light. Can't be exposed to any of the light.
So going, that's any other great studies you were in?
I'm trying to think.
Are you still in any studies?
Not right now.
You're actively looking.
Open to the idea. But those ones were the probably the most fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going back to Colorado, you're doing these studies and you're running. How can you, if you reflect back on your time in Colorado, I think you got into some distance stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because up until this point, like it's all track, it's all
Yeah.
5K less, right?
Yeah.
When does the transition to longer distance start happening in Colorado?
Yeah. I think because I still have not to this day run a 10K on the track or done, I think, like a longer race than the 5K. At least at my time in Colorado, besides cross country.
Mhm.
And I mean, my time in Colorado was really special. I made some really good friends that I have to this day, and I still miss them. Like every Wednesday,
Are
we
they
would
still
have
out there?
yeah, they're still out there.
I hear like once
Miss-
you go out, it's hard.
yeah.
It's hard to come back. But
But every Wednesday we'd do like bachelor night, and like we'd have like crumble cookies, and then it like when bachelor was over, we would just hang out every Wednesday, and I made really good friends out there, and still have good friends out there, good relationships with people on the team, and still think fondly about the coaches. And
you mentioned you were running about 60 miles a week. Was
Mhm.
the transition to like when did the transition to marathon distance happen? Or
Yeah.
when you started training for longer stuff?
Yeah, so over that summer before I went into medical school, I got into trail running.
Which everyone does out there. I feel
Yeah.
like. How can you
If
not?
you haven't, you better start. I truly fell in love with, and it made it that much harder to leave Colorado, was the trails, the mountains. I got into doing 14ers.
Yeah.
And I actually, when somebody asked me what my first marathon was, like, I'll have to say that it was Pikes Peak, because I started in the town of Colorado Springs before like the Manitou Incline, and the parking was I had to start even farther out. So it was definitely a marathon. But I wanted to finish Pikes in one day.
Yeah.
So I ran from the town and up the incline and up to the top of the mountain and then back down.
Yeah.
And so that was probably my first unofficial marathon.
I was telling you about Ann Flower earlier. She ran that race. She actually, I think she won it, and then she I can't remember if she set the course record, but that was like one of her. She's from Colorado Springs, so she would do that race and just hammer the entire course. And for people that don't know, Pikes Peak is up a mountain and down a mountain.
Yeah.
Right? It's just straight up, straight down.
Yeah, and most 14ers, like 14,000 feet above elevation, they start at around 10,000, whereas like Colorado Springs, like the Pikes Peak starts from like the 7,000, 6,000 feet above elevation. So it's longer. So it definitely,
It goes from 7 to 14
yeah. And then, yeah.
in 13-ish miles. Because
Yep.
that's like a turnaround.
Yeah.
Effect.
Yeah. So it gets
Holy
steep.
cow.
Yeah. And it's so, I mean, America the Beautiful was written up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was such a magical experience. And people can take like a tram, like to go up it. Can't cheat it. You can't. You got to go up and down it.
I'm
It's
gonna have to sign
such-
up for
yeah.
that, I think. Hopefully my wife's not.
Yeah, I mean, you could even do it without signing up for the race.
If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
that way. So you ended up doing that race.
I
That's
didn't
your
do the
first-
race. I actually just did the
tram.
yeah.
Oh.
Or no, not the tram. I ran up and down it by myself.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
not,
yeah.
Not
Oh yeah, no,
unofficial.
definitely not a tram person.
Yeah.
You can do that for I think Mount Evans too. And I was like, that one was a crazy 14er for me because I felt like I was on the side of a cliff, and then all of a sudden I saw a ton of people, and I was like, how'd they get here?
Yeah.
And I was like by myself in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I saw that people could drive up.
Yeah, this person doesn't look like they should be up here.
Yeah,
You're like, oh,
right? Yeah,
that's how they
exactly.
get up here. So you do that. You're starting to do 14s. I think you did like a trail series out in Utah.
Yep, the Cirque series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were those longer distances? Or?
Yeah. They were, some of them were around like 7. They were not necessarily longer distances, it's just a longer time on feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like 7 miles, 6 miles, 8 miles.
It's like, I was looking at photos. It's like rugged rock.
Oh yeah.
It's like-
Yeah. You're like
It's not like you're opening it up. and
crawling
sliding
up the
down.
mountain. Like, yeah.
It's more of like an adventure race, it seems.
Totally an adventure. And probably the most painful races that you'll ever run. But like
Because of the up, the down, or a combination, or
probably the up and the elevation for
Yeah.
sure. and being at altitude too, like you're like, oh my gosh, you're already struggling for air, and then and the views take your breath away too.
Yeah,
So
those are nice.
yeah.
During this time, are you doing any running back in Buffalo, or are you just out there? Because I know you've done Turkey Trot a bunch and
Yeah.
you've done Buffalo and things, but are you mostly out west at this point?
Yeah, I was out west for the 2 years
Okay.
there. Yeah.
So at this point, you did some longer distance stuff, but are you serious about marathons at this point, or?
Nope, not even until like 6 months ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go. All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So Colorado, and then you got drawn back.
Mm-hmm.
You were
Yep.
homesick when you went to Cornell. Was home drawing you back, or?
Yeah, it was a little bit homesick, but I knew it was a good the right transition. I mean, I think being back in Buffalo, so grateful to be back home, and in a supportive environment. And my dad's a medical doctor, so I think having that kind of being around somebody that knows what it's like to go through medical school, being around that, was really important for me. Even now, when I look back on that,
What
um,
kind of medicine is your father practice?
he is a pediatric cardiologist.
Okay.
Yeah, and so being back, I think like if I had been in medical school in Colorado, as much as I would have loved it, I think I would have had to sacrifice the life that naturally I would have had to sacrifice the life that I was living currently at the time.
Less studies. Participate in less studies.
But so I would have kind of seen everything being taken away from me, like not taken away from me, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And being in an environment that is not necessarily like mountainous. We have our Holly
Chestnut
Mount,
Ridge.
yeah, Chestnut Ridge, Kissing Bridge. That was like an easier cutoff for me, but I did miss the trails a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you come back, and then, so what was the plan? Was to come back and go to medical school at UB, right?
Yeah, I had no idea what running was going to look like for me. I had no idea if I was going to be able to run. If
Are you
I was
injured at this point, or no? You're good. You're just
I was
like
good.
figuring life out.
Yeah, I was good. I actually sent an application for, there was like the North American, it was like a mountain race, but you could represent Team USA. And so in my first fall, like when I was in anatomy class, I represented Team USA and won like a small like mountain race that they had in Saskatchewan, Canada. But that was fun because I was with some of the trail runners that in the trail team that I had been with in Colorado. But besides that, it was really just kind of not knowing what running was going to look like. I was training under my first coach at Cornell remotely. So not really training with a team, just kind of doing my thing and making running happen while I was in school.
Yeah. So volume wise, you mentioned earlier like 60
Yeah.
hours a week. What are you doing at this point?
Probably around it was probably close to 70
Okay.
the first year, and then like 70-ish, 75-ish last year. And obviously now with like the marathon, like my mileage had kind of went from 75-ish to 100 at one point.
Yeah.
Not there now, but
So how do you balance that with going to school? You have rotations, you're doing all this stuff, you're in medical school, and running 70 miles a week.
yeah.
Is it early mornings? Are you fitting in between things? Are you a night runner?
Yeah, I think like the start time will vary, but if you get up at a certain time, like that makes it easier. My first 2 years, we had like kind of like the book knowledge that you get from medical school. And so I think that made running, I could get up, it was flexible
Mhm.
versus now for rotations. You'll be rounding in surgery at 6. So got to drive into the city at like 5:30. So I was getting up at 3 a.m. for surgery, sometimes earlier, to run. But I
You
usually,
get up at 3 to run to get to the surgery.
yeah, on time. Yeah.
Is that treadmill running? Is it outside?
It was a mix of both. For mainly treadmill whenever it was like snowy out, and that wasn't really until like December-ish,
December,
maybe
March.
November. Yeah, right. But I would use a headlamp and I'd wear it around my chest because I don't like wearing it on my head. But I'd run the neighborhood that I live in is like a perfect mile from cul-de-sac to cul-de-sac.
Mhm.
And so I kind of just did laps in my neighborhood because I was worried about,
Yeah, I was going to ask you, 'cause my wife,
deer. Yeah.
she's just worried about running in the dark in general.
Yeah.
With, like, the
Yeah.
state of things. And
So neighborhood running, and then whenever I had a workout day, I would run to the Orchard Park track
Mhm.
and do a workout there. And sometimes the lights would be on or like come on, and then I would run back, and that's kind of how a lot of my fall looked, was in the dark.
Yeah. Well, it's dark like nearly all the time right now.
Yeah.
I think the clocks are going back anytime now, which means
Yes,
all the light we're just about to
Yep.
lose.
Yep.
So when did you start picking up the local race scene? Because you won Buffalo Run of the Year in 24, 25.
Yeah.
So are you doing like a lot of local 5Ks? Are you?
Yeah, one of my neighbors was the one who told me about the Buffalo Runner Series, and I was like, oh, that would be like a competitive thing that I can do, and then races along the way that would, bring people together and kind of put what would be a season for me.
Yeah.
Um,
This is with a coach. So the coach you were kind of working.
yeah, I just like working with him remotely. And then I also signed up for like the USATF series that was part of Niagara. And that would help too. And then I got into more of the USATF road circuit, which is like, we just had the race in Atlanta last weekend for the half marathon.
Yeah, that went well.
Yeah.
Did you run the half?
The race itself felt like not bad, but my time was arguably like much slower than my PR, which is like my PR was there from like last year. So I thought I would run closer to it, but I didn't. Still got the marathon legs. I need to get the speed, quote, speed.
What did you
back.
run in Atlanta?
This past week I ran like close to 116. And I joked after that race, I was like, oh, people are going to think that I ran the wrong direction.
Yeah, you got the hour.
And little did I know people did run the wrong direction, but my PR is like a 112. So
Yeah.
I have run much faster on that course,
Sure.
but it's fine.
The ladies that were gonna win, they were like, I don't know what pace, like 107, 108.
Oh yeah, probably close to 107. And it's a hilly course. Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I think they just came out and they said did they give?
Yeah,
They-
I think they gave, so they're recognizing both Molly Bourne and like Jess Tan as the winners. So it seems like there's like dual recognition for 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
And I think it's not necessarily declared who's gonna get the Copenhagen spots
Yeah.
yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
It happened to you though, didn't it
It
happen in
did.
Buffalo?
Yeah, it did. It did twice now.
Oh no. It's the
Yeah.
price to pay to be up front. But don't you know you have to know the course at this point?
I know,
Why would it happen
right? No,
twice?
but
hey, you're going the wrong way.
but I don't know the course, I guess, because
Yeah, clearly.
So yeah, misled my first year. That was so heartbreaking because that was kind of like in my head the culmination of
Is this 24-ish?
my first year in medical school.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how the race is gonna go, but if it goes well, that's great. I want to break the record. And
What was the record? Do you remember?
it was like whatever is 6-minute pace and 115, I think. Yeah. And so I was on pace to like substantially, I think, break it. I just kind of wanted to break it, see if I could. And then I ran well over that. I think it was like 118 or something like that. And then I was so heartbroken after that. It was like, not only did I not get, like, do I feel like kind of robbed, unfortunately, of what?
Just a cyclist
What
took
yeah.
a wrong turn, or
Yeah, unfortunately.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was in 24, so you missed that. And does this happen more often? I feel like it happens
It
more
does.
often than people think.
It does. It happened actually at Grand Rapids, the 20K for the men.
Mhm.
And then I must be bad luck because I was talking about like both before this past Atlanta and before the 20K, I kind of made a joke about like being misled, and both of, it happened again for these individuals, but the men were misled in Grand Rapids. And I think somebody was on course to break a record or something there.
So talked to Joe Whalen a couple weeks ago, and when he ran Austin, he won the full there,
Mhm.
but the two halves that he was running with
Mhm.
both
Oh,
followed. He was behind them, and
Yeah.
they kept running, and he had to like catch up to them.
yeah.
Tell them you missed your turn, and
Oh my
then they had to
gosh.
come back around. And
Wow.
So I think it happens way more than people think.
Yeah.
But in 25 it happens again on the same
Yes.
course.
It was not as catastrophic. It was like 100 meters.
And you broke the
yeah.
record that year, right, for Buffalo?
Yeah, that was special. And I think like there has
Was
to
it
be
in the same spot? Did you run
It was
course?
farther
Okay.
along, thank God. Oh my gosh. Because I knew that I did.
I'm making this
Yeah.
turn.
Yeah. But I think there's like the way I was able to rationalize the misdirection my first year is like there's a reason like getting lost in life, getting led down the wrong way,
Yeah.
finding your way back. That's the way that I kind of, grieved.
Is that grieving afterwards, or you're like, dang, when you're running, or are you like, son of a,
Oh my gosh.
mad,
Yeah.
and like running mad, or
The first year I was like, I think I was sad. And then the year after that, I was like, how could this happen again to me? And I was like kind of mad.
yeah,
Um,
while running, you're just like pissed, or
yeah, I think the second year I was like, oh my gosh, I might get disqualified, or like I couldn't remember like what if I would be recognized as like the record breaker. Not that that was that big of a deal, but I just think I was like frustrated that it happened again. And I guess some of it's guilt too, because I was like, I should have probably better known the course after being misled.
did you run the
again.
course before at all, after or before, or no?
It's really relatively simple. The first like
I'm aware.
10, like 11 miles, because you run like out to Delaware Park and like turn around, and then everybody's like cheering and it's fun. And then you kind of go by the harbor and then back, and then you like take some turns around like
The Key Bank area?
Yeah, and that's where it gets a little bit confusing, but not this year.
So last year you broke it. The
Yeah,
record. Are you
yeah.
running Buffalo this year?
Yeah, the biggest races that I have on my calendar are the Grandma's Half Marathon.
You run that? You haven't run that before?
I have not.
The half or the full?
So I was originally signed up for the full,
Okay.
but now after Chevron, I'm doing the half,
Okay.
and then Pittsburgh half, which will be
Super
the
early.
first week of May.
I've run the full in Pittsburgh. I remember that race because it was my wife's first marathon. I was running the marathon. We woke up, her watch was dead.
Oh my
When we
gosh!
walked down, her was like, she's like, my watch isn't starting, or my watch isn't working. So we ended up,
Go by feel.
I gave her my watch, and I ran by field, which ended up working out all right. And then I've run Grandma's full, which is an amazing course. 'Cause
Okay.
it's just so fast. But you're running Buffalo this year, and let's kind of come forward to Chevron.
Yeah.
So that is your first full.
No.
It's not. What was your one before that?
So actually, not a lot of people know this, but I ran CIM.
Okay, yeah, you just mentioned that.
Yeah, and so at the week after Thanksgiving, ran the turkey trot, and that was, oh my gosh, the weather for that was crazy. But the week after that, I came down with a stomach bug, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the week before CIM. Like, what am I gonna do? And I tried to fuel as best as I could, but it was really so hard. In CIM, I ended up running that race, and it was a good experience, like really like great people. Ultimately my time was 2:37:11.
2:37 is the Olympic trials.
Yes. So I missed it by 11 seconds. And I was like, I wasn't the only one that missed it by like kind of less than 1%.
Yeah.
But I was like, how could I be one of those people that missed it by that much?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I wasn't originally planning on doing Chevron, but I wanted to see what I could do without like that kind of sickness beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
Joke's on me. I got like a cold a couple of days before Chevron. But
Those are both fast courses, right? CIM.
yeah,
and Houston.
CIM was a little bit more rolling. It was definitely felt like a little bit more crowded. Chevron, I was actually worried about people to run with, because the goal was to like not necessarily run OTQ pace, but to go a little bit faster than that, because I didn't want to play it safe.
That race has a lot of fast runners. So isn't that where the world record was set?
Yeah, so a lot of people were signed up for the half for that.
Okay.
And there was definitely competition. Like I had people to run with for the full as well. And there were a handful of qualifiers for the full too. But I was with the OTQ pack for Chevron for 11 miles. I was like, oh, that's funny. I missed it by 11 seconds, and I was with the OTQ pack for 11 miles. And then we runners, we read into everything. And then I was like, okay, I can't play it safe anymore. I gotta make a move. And then around 11 miles, made the move, and it wasn't, black and white. Like I was slowly inching my way up. And I was like, if they catch me again, or if I fall off pace, I'll just be, swarmed again. And that'll be a good thing. I'll just have more people to run with. But I was running with a man, and his name I came to know was Corey, because every single time we ran by somebody, he must have been a local, because people would cheer Corey.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way people know my name, because I was wearing bib like 125, I think.
Yeah.
But it was great because it sounded like people were saying Ori.
Oh, yeah.
And I told him at the end of the race, I was like, it was so great. Your name is Corey, because my last name's Ori.
How'd you do mentally, like running alone? Was it just like, don't get swallowed by that group you mentioned? Or I always feel like I get caught between like two groups. I'm just in no man's land by myself, just suffering.
Yeah.
And-
I felt so lucky to be with that man, because I think if I hadn't been with somebody, it could have gotten hard.
Yeah.
And I think like I was so in the mindset of like trying to just like inch away at like going faster than like around like 5:55 pace. And then I was surprised at how well I was feeling. And then I got like, it's kind of like positive feedback. I got like even more excited about it as like the race went on. And then
At what point did you know like this is going to happen?
yeah, I thought to myself around mile 20, I was like, if somebody says something, cheers me on. If I see somebody, because my twin was competing in the half at that race. And so my mom came up because she knew we were both racing for that. I was like, if somebody I know says like sees me or whatnot, I'll be like, I'm going to do this at mile 20. I'm doing
Did
this.
you see somebody?
No, not until the last 400 meters, when I heard both my sister and my mom's voice, and it was like 400 meters ago, and I heard them from wherever in the crowd, and like I gave a fist pump, and I was like, so, oh my gosh, I was like so pumped. I probably had like tears in my eyes. I think I looked like, yeah.
Yeah, my wife, when we finished the last Berlin, we did Berlin in September. It was so hot and we were miserable, but she's like, I was just ugly crying at the end.
It's such an emotional experience, not years, but I mean, for some years,
Yeah, some years.
but weeks of training. At that point, it had been like 23 weeks.
Yeah.
CIM was 18 weeks, but yeah, I mean, and just kind of, the doubt and I was heartbroken after. I mean, it stunk to be like missing the standard by CIM, and so many people had qualified at that. I was like feeling, oh, why couldn't I be part of that group? Like it would be so awesome. But
What did you end up running in Chevron?
2:35:06.
Okay, so you had a big enough buff.
I honestly think that those last, I mean, now I'm like months out from the race, but I think those last like couple miles, I really just wanted, like I was really enjoying it. And I think, I finished really strong, and probably could have gone faster, I think, that day for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean,
when you get to that level at 2:35,
Yeah.
do you feel like the next, I'm sure you're still chasing PRs. So
Yeah.
where does it come from to get, is it more training? Is it better fueling? Do you work on run form? Like, how do you think about shaving off time? Because it gets harder and
Yeah.
harder as you kind of reach that level.
I think I did great at fueling. I mean, could still always improve with that.
Are you on gels?
Mhm.
And then you have
Yeah.
your own aid station?
Yeah, I actually had
Gels.
bottles too at Chevron, which I used actually. I had ketchup bottles. It was so funny.
Oh, so
'Cause, yeah,
easy to find?
yes, easy to find, easy to
Like
grab.
Heinz ketchup
Yes,
bottles?
Heinz,
That's
like,
what you're
yes.
drinking out of.
Yes.
Did you use like a red drink at least?
It was not a red drink. It was
This
probably
lady's fueling with ketchup over
right.
there.
Yeah, ketchup. Yeah. And I thought it was funny too, because I was hoping that I wouldn't have to catch up time.
Oh, there
So
you go.
yeah, anything that makes you smile, makes you relax. But it made me laugh every single time I was grabbing a ketchup bottle. I was like, who is this ridiculous person grabbing? And
That'd be like if you were in the group with people and these like other ladies and guys are running with you and they're like, oh, I gotta beat this lady. You look over, you're like, this lady's running with a ketchup bottle. Like,
yeah.
it's the homeless lady over there. Like,
Highly recommend. But then again, I don't want everybody to have ketchup bottles on the course.
what do you do for like carbs per hour in like a marathon like that?
My rule of thumb is like taking a gel every like what is 20 grams. I love Martin and Precision Gel. I feel like those sit really well.
Yeah.
Martin's harder to
Do you do like the big Mortons or do you like the smaller one?
the smaller ones are a little bit easier. I try, like, it just depends, where I am in the race.
You said like
But
every 20 minutes.
yeah, every 20 minutes, every 3.5, 4 miles.
Yeah.
It's like,
So I think those are like 25 a piece ish. So you're probably like around
yeah,
75 grams an hour. So
yeah. And then I'll do 2 caffeine gels, like mile, like 13 and like 17. It was
in
probably
your
where it
Heinz
comes
bottle,
out.
what's in that?
Morton,
Oh, it's
the carb
bicarb stuff.
mix,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, just to see if I could. And then I'll in the one around mile 16, I think I'll put like a caffeinated
hmm
like gel diluted in water. The Victus gels actually work out well too because Morton and Precision don't necessarily have any sodium in them.
Yeah.
I think maybe now they do.
I started experimenting with
Yeah,
Tailwind a little bit, which
yeah,
has a lot good carbs. I mean, it's just all sugar water at this point, but
yeah,
they have some caffeine in it. And it's flavored, so sometimes you just need something different,
yeah,
as you're
yeah.
going. But so you finished that, and now you're qualified for 2028, and
Yeah,
that hasn't been announced yet where that's at, right?
yeah. I think the two places they're deciding between are Phoenix and St. Louis.
Okay.
Sorry.
So between now and 2028, you're doing Buffalo Half. Mention again what else is on
Mhm.
the race calendar?
Yeah, the
Grandmas.
Pittsburgh half, the grandmas. I think the big goal right now, at least with my coach, is to run a fast half and then like try to really make the fast half for a stronger full.
hmm
I'd love to run another marathon. I was thinking maybe New York, maybe I was thinking like Valencia, but there's like a family thing during that time of the year for me. But we'll see. I think like the TBD, I'd love to run another marathon in between now and then. What makes it tricky is the month of August, I'm doing a global health trip, or at least planning on doing a global
Okay.
health trip in the Himalayas with a group. And so that will make, I would have loved to do Chicago, or what else is around that time of year? Something like Fast and Flat
Yeah.
to try to do a PR, but that we have years for that too. I mean, there's no time like the present, but I can't get too greedy too soon. But if I could do New York, or if New York pans out well, I think that would be fun because that'd be a hard course and
Yeah.
yeah, eclectic experience.
You've never done New York. Yeah, it
Yeah,
is a
no.
different experience.
Yeah,
I like Chicago.
I did the 5K there, so that would be such a different distance.
Where do you feel like long-term vision on like even like Olympic trials? So that's like a good time frame. It's far enough away. Do you have like sub 230 on your mind? Do you
Oh
have
my gosh, that'd be amazing. As in my head, like 232 would be a great
yeah?
time to reach for if I were reaching for a time.
And you're not doing this full time either. So
Yeah.
like when do you start practicing medicine?
So I'll apply. So I'm in my end of my third year, and then I have like fourth year medical school, and I'll apply for residency. And
Mhm.
so, um, I'll be a resident for however years long, and then I'll probably specialize because never stop learning, I
Do you know
guess.
where do you have a vision of where you're gonna land in medicine?
Yeah, I think so. Going into my last rotation, I was really undecided. I loved something like with a surgical, like hands-on experience. My top originally was orthopedic surgery. I loved surgery, like breast surgery.
Mhm.
And then I loved OBGYN as well. But it really wasn't until I was in the cath lab with in pediatric cardiology that I really felt like this hit every single box I was looking for.
Yeah.
So,
You
yep,
gotta balance all of that.
yep.
Is your schedule like, are you very, I can't imagine like you have everything on the calendar, you know exactly when you're doing stuff?
Oh, I wish I did.
Really?
I am that kind of a person though. But with
Not
third
with
year,
us?
yeah, with third year it teaches you to roll with the punches, like adapt to any schedule. So yeah, just trying to roll with the punches right now, I guess, in terms of running.
Swinging it.
It's so stressful.
Yeah. So you mentioned you got up to 100 miles. Is that something like you feel like you need to get up to? Is it like just crossing that barrier, or do you feel like I don't want to go up there again?
I love to go up there as long as I can stay healthy. I
Yeah.
think, again, yeah, it's all about staying healthy and like making your miles efficient. And I think part of this year for this marathon buildup is I knew I was getting up at like, 3, 4 in the morning to run. And
Time to go to
so,
bed.
yeah. Oh gosh.
Is it still light out?
No.
No. Are you going to bed late?
Yeah, sometimes it just depends with the studying. Because I'll be in third year also like studying for different exams, and fourth year, not as much, hopefully. But I think that I don't even know where I was going.
Does
with
it ever
that.
feel like it's like, I gotta imagine there's points where you're like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
Or do you like just
Yeah.
roll with it? Or
And
do you
he's
like
like in the middle.
scream into a
Yeah.
pillow once a night? Or
When I'm up at like 3, 4 in the morning and I'm like wearing my like headlamp that should be around my head, around my chest, and I'm like, what am I doing around here?
yeah.
Because at 4 or 5 a.m. I was surprised by how many people I'd actually see out running
Yeah.
with like another lamp out. But at 3, there's no one.
for sure.
But I think I'm like those miles, I was like, what am I doing? Or like, what will this be? Will this happen? Will I be able to do it? And now that I know, like, I'm not the only one who has like a story like this. I think like the marathon is full of experiences
Yeah.
like this. It's so
And I think that's what
special.
makes it like, no matter what your time is, like crossing the finish line, that's
Yeah.
what like you just like have this flashback of everything that you had to do to get there.
Yes.
You had to
Oh
fight
my
through things,
gosh.
you've been hurt, you've had like all these things you're balancing, you have family, you have school, and,
Yeah.
and it just all comes like flooding back in the last 400.
Yeah,
It's like, oh,
right. That's what makes it so emotional. It's
Yeah.
such an emotional experience. Even like running now, like routes that I haven't run before because I was doing a lot of like neighborhood running and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, like so much has happened since then. And,
mhm.
it's just like a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for a lot of people are running like their first marathon and things? Like, what advice do you have for them?
Yeah, keep it fun. I think like that, like if you're not having fun, then why are you doing it?
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing. And I think
How do you keep it fun? How do you keep it fun?
yeah,
3 a.m. doesn't sound like it's it.
um for my race in CIM, I ran with like the OTQ pack. And I was running with like Courtney Dahlwater for most
Oh,
of
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And so like
Oh, she crushed it too. Like it was her first race back,
crushed
right?
it. Yeah.
She's a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was like, if anybody knows how to keep it fun, it's her.
Yeah.
And so I was so glad to be running with her for most of that race. And you'd be surprised, like every single like what felt like a step, people were cheering her name. And
Yeah.
I was like, this is amazing. And I was like, people aren't like, she's not winning this race, but people are cheering. I mean, she's such an established athlete, but like I think a lot of the reason why people were cheering for her is because she's such a like genuine, fun
hmm
to be around person. And so actually during that race, I was like, it's incredible the impact that you have. That's why people are cheering your name. And so I was like, it's so nice to be around that right now. And
Yeah.
I think like keeping it fun, like, is part of keeping it fun is like the people that you spend time with. And not that I was running with people during my training, but when I step up to the race, team like the marathon is like such a, you know, it feels like a team sport because you're all trying to get to the finish
Mhm.
line. And, faster time is great too. But people at Chevron, I made a couple friends and people were sharing bottles with each other. And I think like, that helps relax you as you're like, yeah, we're doing this together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the fun thing has come up a couple of times when I've talked to like really high level performers, like 'cause you can't sustain it without if you're like miserable. But
Yeah.
one thing I think is always helpful. I'm a loner by nature,
Oh,
so
yeah.
I always train alone. I have friends that I will meet with on the weekend occasionally and run with, but I find like hitting the trails is that
Yeah.
for me. Like,
Yeah.
because like trail running has this whole nother element of like no one like you can't keep your pace because it's all different and
Yeah.
it's really tough to tell how hard you're working. So you just get to go out and just like explore through the woods.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which coming from Colorado, that's kind of where you've got some passion for that.
Definitely. Oh my gosh, definitely. Being out in the middle of nowhere, like hearing the sounds of nature, like seeing the views, like I don't know what it is, but it just like really just, I mean, it takes your breath away, but it's hard to put words to it because of the experience, like what you feel when you're surrounded by that.
Mhm.
Because
Like a reset, I feel like,
yeah,
at least personally. And then whenever we've gone to the Adirondacks or I go to out west, like it's just like a reset.
yeah, I think you find like lessons in nature and, and what you're feeling. And it's a way to kind of, you know, step away from life, but like also like, I mean, on a run, you'll feel like you can process things better. Or you'll just like be feeling whatever you're feeling. But yeah, I think that's what running, I mean, I'm a loner too, for sure. And I think that's what makes it really like such a special sport too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that helps. And then I'm curious just for like new time runners, and this might come back to bite me, but when you do like an easier run. So what's marathon pace for you at Chevron?
At Chevron, I think I was close. I think it was like 5:53
Okay.
pace. Yeah, I think
5:53 a
that was.
mile for 26
Yeah.
miles. What's your easy pace? Like if you're going out
Oh
for a
yeah.
recovery run.
People might get mad at me. Easy is easy.
No, this is what I wanted to hear because like I see easy, and I'm gonna guess you're probably 8 minute plus or no?
For I wouldn't be able to tell you honestly.
Okay. You don't
Because I
know?
barely look at the watch when I
Well, you gotta
have
look
an
at it
easier.
afterwards. Like
Yeah, I know. I think it ranges honestly anywhere from, if I'm actually really going easy, 7:30 to
Okay.
like 8 minute plus pace.
Yeah.
For
So
yeah, because the whole goal of easy is to recover.
yeah, it's super easy, and I feel like for everyone listening, one of the things I see is like my easy run, and they're still running way too hard.
Yeah.
And you're talking 5:53. You're 2+ minutes slower per mile.
Yep.
I was looking at Connor Mance's after he broke He broke the American record at Chicago. He ran 4:40 or something, whatever
Yeah.
it was. I don't remember. Ran a 2:02
Disgusting.
or 2:02. His like recovery runs are like 7:50,
Yeah.
8:10.
Yeah.
Like, so if he can run 3 minutes a mile slower in his
Right.
marathon, I think that's where a lot of people get breakdowns. They're running too hard too often.
Yeah.
Just hearing that you're running, 2.5 minutes slower
Yeah.
than marathon pace, which is a pace you can sustain for a while, is really a good thing for a lot of people to hear.
Yeah. Because it's also like you don't know what I mean, it's time on feet too that's helping. So I think like even the easy run, you're going at like a less you're not even close to what hard is.
Mm-hmm.
But you're also getting a benefit of like, your body moving. And I think the time on your feet is useful too. Because, when you're running a marathon, it's 2+ hours of time. And so an easy run that's stretched for a longer period of time is also beneficial in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to end with your next race is Buffalo, right?
Pittsburgh. Yeah.
First. But let's go to Buffalo because that's what we're talking about right now. And is the goal to break your record again?
That would be fun.
Stay on course. Is that the
Yeah.
goal? Stay on course.
Yeah. Stay on course. I think we'll keep it. Yeah. Stay on course. Run it. Third time's the charm, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So goal is to do that. You have the 2028 Olympic trials coming up.
Yeah.
And that'll be fun. Any last minute advice for people who are running Buffalo, either half or full for the first time, other than having fun and going slower on their easier runs?
I think if you're from Buffalo, I think it's just like really special. I don't know. I don't know what advice other than having fun would be, but one thing that I like to do is to do something in a race that like makes you proud at the end. It's whether it's like being the person next to you or working with the person next to you or trying to stay positive from halfway to mile 10. Giving yourself a small goal, give yourself something to be proud of. I think that is something that I try to do recently, like at races. So, however that looks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for
it.
having me. It's a privilege to be here.
Oh,
for
of
sure.
course. Thank you.
The Buffalo Marathon Podcast is presented by our official training partner, Run Smart. Whether you're training for the full marathon, the half, or the 5K, the Run Smart app helps you train smarter with plans and guidance built by physical therapists who understand runners. From your first run to race weekend, Run Smart helps you show up prepared. Head to the App Store and download the Run Smart app today.